Alistair thanked his predecessor, Heineke Meyer, for the youngsters that he blooded during his tenure, and we also know that Alistair's got a great track record of doing that himself.
Yeah.
So how do you see that sort of continuation? And then obviously the transformation objectives he will have now.
Yeah.
He said that he will only play guys that he backs, but we obviously know it's not as simple as that.
Yeah.
And of course with Saru's sort of a 2019 objective of having 50% representation. How do you see Alistair managing all of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's his biggest challenge. I think transformation, considering this, the strategic transformation plan ideal, which is 50% players of colour in the Springbok team by 2019, and 60% of that 50% being Black African, is quite a challenge. There's still not really enough players coming through to be able to say confidently tomorrow, for instance, that a box side could be structured along those lines. I don't think the franchises are doing quite enough yet to advance the cause of transformation. Last weekend, I think there were 3 of the major franchises intended starting with 3 players of colour in their starting 15s, which tells you that the percentage is still way down. And if that's happening at your franchise level, what price then the Springbok coach, the poor old Bok coach, who's got to then try and find players of suitable experience and quality for his national side. So the most difficult one for Alistair. In his defence is his track record for transformation at the Stormers, given how many players of colour sort of blossomed under his beat sort of thing. So he pulled through Cheslin Colby, Nazam Carr, Sia Kolisi, and now Noche is starting to come through. He still knows Sikhumbuzo Noche pretty well from when he was a rookie flank, sort of on the outside looking in at the Stormers. So he's going to be well aware of those sort of players in the mix. But yeah, transformation, probably his toughest challenge to meet that 2019 requirement, which is still a long way up the drag, of course. We know that things can happen to trip up Springbok coaches in the interim of a 4-year cycle. So let's not sort of put the cart before the horse, but that is something that's going to be hanging over his head pre-2019. And in terms of youth developments, you rightly said that he had a great track record at the Stormers, always very happy to bring through 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, pluck them from nowhere and very quickly empower them. So I don't have a problem on that front. I think he'll be comfortable bringing in very young players who then may well sort of reach a very nice little peak by the time 4 years up the drag at the next World Cup in Japan comes along. So from that side of things, again, I don't have any special qualms about or fears about how Alistair might fare on that front.
But he said, assured everyone that come June, obviously Ireland are going to tour South Africa in June, that the box will be ready.
Yeah, well, they'll have to be. I mean, it's a series they can't afford to lose. It would be a step backwards instantly if they did lose it. The Boks are still ranked 3 in the world, higher than Ireland. Ireland weren't one of the sort of pace setters in this year's Six Nations, so the Boks will certainly be expected to beat them, and they really should, because in the June window period, you normally get quite tired, potentially vulnerable Northern Hemisphere players having to make a trek to South Africa to play a pretty tough 3-match series in sort of South African conditions, etc. And I would fully expect the Springboks to win that series, possibly even 3-0, but at very worst, something like a 2-1.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Nick.